Hello, my Facebook friends. Hi, how are you today? We are ready to do our last no-show show this week, and I'm so glad that you're joining me here today. So I am coming to you from my studio. I've set it up a little bit like a quilt show where we bring to you all of these different products that you can purchase from us at a show. But of course, shows aren't happening right now. So instead, I'm coming to you live from my studio, and we're going to pretend we're at a show. When I'm at a show, I love to show you all of the Sue Pellin Designs tools that I have. But today, we are going to focus on the Hearts and More tools. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful quilt out of my book that is called Blue Moons. So it's here in my Rotary cut applique with the Hearts and More book. So we're going to focus on Hearts and More today with a demonstration of how we make the Blue Moons quilt. I'll show you the actual Blue Moons quilt. And we're going to be taking a little bit of time to talk about the piping along the edges of our binding. And that's a wonderful technique by Susan Cleveland. When I'm at a show, I not only have my products, but I have a bunch of other quilt artist products. And I sell all of those products in my booth. But without the booth, without the shows happening, I am liquidating these products. I am getting rid of all of the products that are not mine. So in addition to my products today, I want to feature Susan Cleveland's products because they are so wonderful. Her techniques are so awesome. And I'm going to show you a couple of projects where I use the piping hot binding tool. So you can buy all of these products on my website. That's SuePellinDesigns.com. And today you're going to get a free gift with purchase. So I have this beautiful collection of 2D thread colors. This is half of the collection. I've got the other half over here on the table. And today for my Blue Moons quilt, I'm either going to be using this color, which is a beautiful dark sky color, or this one right here, which has the yellow and the blue together. So these are a sample of 2D thread will be your free gift for today. So I don't have full-size spools. I have some sample sizes. There's still a good size spool that you can use on a project, and you're going to be able to test out that 2D thread. So today, that's your free gift when you order online with me at SuePellinDesigns.com. So I want to thank everybody who's been with us for a couple of days now. We ran into a couple little glitches, excuse me, with the website. So we've decided to give you that incentive to buy online, that we're doing free gifts for every day. Now, if you purchase something on day 1 and then you added something on day 2, and now you're going to think about something new on day 3, you're going to get all 3 free gifts. I apologize. Somehow a notification is up on my computer, and I'm going to try to get rid of that, but I don't want to interrupt this live broadcast. So just pardon those interruptions. Okay, so we are going to work with our Blue Moons quilt today. That means we're working with our Hearts and More tools. For those of you that know me, I have the Hearts and More and the Leaves Galore tools for Rotary cut applique. And down on the big screen here, you're going to see our Rotary cut applique show specials that we sell at our shows. Now, because this is a no-show show today, we are going to offer you those show specials. And you can find those show specials on my website under the template category. So in addition to the Hearts and More tools that come in 4 different sizes. This is template D, the largest size. We have template C, template B, and template A. You're going to get all 4 together in our show specials. So this set of 4 tools is available individually, or it's part of our show packages. What else is in our show package? Well, you're also going to get the set of 3 Leaves Galore tools. All 3 Leaves Galore tools are used in my books and in my patterns. So when you are looking at the introductory show special, the basic package, that basic package has all 7 tools, but it also has the Grace True Grips that we use on those tools to prevent those tools from slipping. Now, I love using Grace True Grips on my tools. Because of that, I've teamed up with the Grace Company to make Hearts and Leaves True Grips. So you're going to get 2 packages of the standard True Grips in any of our bundles. Those standard True Grips are the clear circular True Grips. You're going to get 2 sets of True Grips in any of our bundles, and you're going to be able to put those on all of your tools. Now, the Hearts and Leaves are fun because they match my tools, and they also have a directional arrow. So the leaves are pointy, and you can point them at important features of your tool, like that letter A in the center of the tool. I always like to highlight that letter A by pointing my True Grips right on that line with the letter A. So when you're using the Hearts and Leaves True Grips, not only can you prevent those tools from slipping, but you're also going to be able to indicate a certain marking on your tool. So the basic package right here has the 3 Leaves Galore, the 4 Hearts and More, and the True Grips. Now, I'm going to show you today what those tools are for. So stick around and I'll give you a demonstration of the Hearts and More tools. We demonstrated the Leaves Galore tools yesterday, not only for cutting applique shapes, but also for marking quilting designs. So stick with us and we're going to demonstrate for you today how to use the Hearts and More tools for applique, but also for quilting designs. All right, if you love my tools and you want to have the books that go along with the tools, and you might also want my Quilter's chalk line. I'm going to reach across here because the Quilter's chalk line was way across the table. This Quilter's chalk line allows me to mark straight lines on my fabric, and it's the perfect tool to mark the edges of your quilt prior to binding. And we are going to talk about binding today with the piping hot binding. So this tool is going to come in handy. Then that tool comes with our iron erase chalk powder. We use that iron erase chalk powder quite often, and we will be using it along with a little chalk wheel. We put the chalk powder in here, and we're going to use this little chalk wheel today when we talk about marking quilting designs with our tools. So you're going to see all of these products come up during the demonstration, and the Fast and Fabulous package has both sets of tools, the Quilter's chalk line, 2 sets of Grace True Grips, and the Leaves Galore book and the Hearts and More Rotary Cut Applique book. Now, both of those books have all kinds of instruction. It teaches you everything that you can do with your tools step by step. And in the back of the quilt are lots of projects. So there are 9 projects in the Hearts and More book. There are 5 projects in the Leaves Galore book, but every technique is in there. Now, our deluxe package today not only has everything that we've talked about already, but we're also going to add the Quick Change Rotary Cutter from Olfa. You change your blade with just a snap of that little red button, and you've got a new blade in your rotary cutter. We're going to include 2 new blades as well. And we're going to include the Misty Fuse and our Fat Goddess sheet. So the Fat Goddess sheet by Misty Fuse, that's this one right here. It's a 21-inch by 27-inch pressing sheet specifically designed to use with the Misty Fuse. So you're going to get the Fat Goddess sheet, the big size one, and a 10-yard package of Misty Fuse. That's hanging up back on the wall. I don't have it handy right here. But you're going to get everything in the other 2 packages. You're going to get that little chalk wheel. We now have blue ones. Mine's red, but they're now in a pretty teal blue. you're going to get the large package of Misty Fuse. That's 10 yards of Misty Fuse and your Fat Goddess sheet. So now that you know what those show specials are all about, let's get into using the tools. How are we going to use that this tool that looks like a flip-flop, doesn't it? It's a strange shaped looking tool. We're going to use this tool not only for cutting our Blue Moons quilt today, but we're going to use it to mark quilting designs as well. So let's get started with the Blue Moons quilt. Yesterday, I almost forgot to do quilting designs with my tools. So if there's something that you're interested in finding out more about, go ahead and put it up in the comments. And I'm just going to scroll over here and look at your comments and see if I can answer any questions that you have right now. Okay, so we have lots of people on. Hey, Trisha Heavers, nice to see you. Melanie Peterson, Colleen Gronendahl, Sylvia Cameron, good morning from Hilton Head. So nice to see you here. A few years ago, I went to Hilton Head Island to visit with some friends, and Sylvia was in that quilt guild. Correct, Sylvia? So nice to see you again. Kathy, nice to see you. You've got the live feed now. I hope you're able to see it. Very good. Good morning, everyone from Sioux City, Iowa. I see Pat, Elaine, good morning. I love seeing all of my friends here. I've got Iris from Montana. Welcome. So you've enjoyed the last 2 days. Very good. Thank you so much for letting me know. All right. I don't see any questions yet, but I see a lot of people saying good morning and they love the rulers. So thank you for that. Okay, we are going to be doing some quilting designs today. Thanks for that, Pat. Hi, Lee from Rhode Island. I'm from Rhode Island, so it's always nice to see my Rhode Island girls here on the Facebook Lives. Dawn, how nice to see you. Dawn, my friend that used to be from Florida and now lives in North Carolina. Oh my goodness, so nice to see all of you online this morning. Okay, we are going to get started with our Blue Moons project. I'm going to gather my supplies for Blue Moons, and I'm not going to go through all of the supplies, but what we need for today's technique is a 6 3/4 inch square of our dark fabric that we're going to be using for the blocks in our Blue Moons quilt. There's a moon block and an alternating block. You're going to be picking beautiful blue fabrics if that's what you choose. Maybe your moons are not going to be on the blue sky, but we're going to be choosing those beautiful blue fabrics as well as a complementary yellow fabric for this quilt. So our blue squares are 6 3/4 inch and our yellow squares are only 6 inches. In addition to that, you're going to need a 6-inch square of Misty Fuse. So while we're on the topic of Misty Fuse, let's talk about Misty Fuse and why I love the Misty Fuse so much. Misty Fuse is my favorite fusible web. We're going to be using it on the back of our applique fabrics because it's so sheer, it's so light, and it's so beautiful to use. So we're going to grab 6-inch squares of our Misty Fuse. I've already pre-cut those. Now, when I have a roll of Misty Fuse, it's 12 inches wide. So I just spool off some of this Misty Fuse. I fold it all up, and then I cut a 6-inch strip, and then I cross cut into 6-inch squares. So I've already done that. And now I have all my 6-inch squares of Misty Fuse right here, ready to go. I'm going to take off one piece at a time, and I'm going to fuse that square to the back of my 6 3/4 inch square. So I need to grab my pressing surface. Now, for those of you that have been with me a couple of days, you know that this is the TNT quilt board that Tracy and Tim Kennedy made for me. You also know, if you follow me, that I love my bicycle. And in fact, my husband is waiting for me. We're going to go bicycling later today. So I'm going to use this adorable little pressing surface that Tracy and Tim made for me. And if you love my pressing surface, go over and visit with Tracy and Tim. They're going to be at the Mancuso live show today, so you can catch them on the Mancuso live show after this show. So I'm going to cover over my Misty Fuse on the back of my fabric. Now my fusible is smaller than my fabric, so I don't need to worry about covering over this pretty cover because I'm not going to get any Misty Fuse on there. But I do want to make sure that my applique pressing sheet is clean. How am I going to do that? I'm just going to rub my hand over it, make sure that it looks clean, scrape off any fusible residue, and then it's ready to go. If I have a kitchen scrubby like those green sponges that you use to clean your Teflon pans, you can use that to clean off your applique pressing sheet. So I'm just going to press the Misty Fuse to the back side of my blue sky fabric. Now I see a little fusible on my pressing sheet. I'm just going to make sure I'm cleaning it off before I press because I don't want to get any fusible on the bottom of my iron. So keep that keep that pressing sheet clean and you won't get any fusible on your iron. So it only takes a few seconds to melt that Misty Fuse to the back of your fabric. How will you know when you've pressed it long enough? When you peel away your applique pressing sheet, it should come off clean with no fibers of the fusible sticking to the pressing sheet over here. If you feel that there's fibers over here sticking to the sheet, that means you haven't pressed it long enough. Go ahead and give that Misty Fuse another hot press. You cannot press your Misty Fuse too much. Misty Fuse loves the heat, so you don't need to worry about over fusing your fusible. And I'm just waving this around to cool off that applique pressing sheet. But the applique pressing sheet is really thin. It's thin so that it transfers your heat quickly, so that you don't have to wait for this to heat up in order to melt the Misty Fuse. You don't have to worry about it cooling down and burning your fingers because it cools down very quickly. So you're just pressing the fusible to the back of the fabric, and now you've got that 6-inch square of Misty Fuse on the back of your 6 3/4-inch piece of fabric. So your picture is very blurry. It's not on my screen. So Debbie, I'm sorry about that. Let's see if, okay, the camera facing the workstation is blurry for you. That's very interesting because it's perfectly clear for me. Can somebody comment again and let me know if this is blurry to you? On my screen, it's perfectly clear. So I'm not sure what I can do about that. So just bear with me, okay? All right. So let's see. Okay, I'm trying to decide if there's anything I can do. Yeah, I think it could be a bandwidth issue. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it seems like on my screen, it's very clear. So I think the only thing we can do is watch the replay. When I bring something up to the camera, it's going to make everything else blurry for a moment, and then it's going to refocus. So I'm going to put this here, and I'm hopefully it's going to refocus. All right, there we go again. It's blurry again. So I'm going to be patient and see if it comes back. And in the meantime, I'm going to, all right. In the meantime, we're going to try something different. I'm going to try my USB camera that is on my computer. I'm going to angle that down onto my workstation and see if this camera is better. All right, let's give this camera a shot and see if it's better. So now I've got my I've got my Misty Fuse on the back of the fabric. So we're ready to let this cool for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, the fusible is no longer tacky. Right now it's tacky and sticky. It's going to stick to itself if you fold that fabric. So we need to let this fabric cool for 15 minutes or more. Now I'm going to do that again because if you were blurry when I was doing it the first time, I want you to see that up close. So let's go ahead and try it again. Thank you for letting me know in the comments that you were having trouble. And I'm hoping this next camera is going to be even better. All right. So once again, send me a comment if you're seeing more of a clear picture from my second webcam. Okay. So I'm going to put the fabric face down on my pressing surface. I'm going to add a piece of Misty Fuse that is 6 inches. Now, it's pretty hard to cut Misty Fuse exactly with your rotary cutter. However, it doesn't have to be perfect. As long as your fusible is slightly smaller than your fabric, you're good to go. But 6 inches on your fusible, 6 3/4 on your blue fabric. So we're pressing out that Misty Fuse, just ironing it down. Okay, we're ironing that down. And now we're going to peel away that applique pressing sheet. So this is the process. You're going to get all of your squares ready to go with a 6-inch piece of Misty Fuse on the center of your square. Now I'm going to put those two aside because those are ready to go. Let's put our Misty Fuse aside and let's get our fabric prepared for our moon color. Our moon color is a 6-inch piece of fabric. 6 inches of that moon color is going to make the moon behind that blue sky. So I'm going to take 2 of those to match up to the 2 blue pieces of fabric with the 6-inch piece of Misty Fuse on the back. And let's get ready to cut. Now, normally with my Hearts and More tools, I use a rotating mat to cut. Now, I forgot to grab my rotating mat this morning, but I've got a nice small mat here on the table, and I'm going to be able to rotate that mat instead. Now, one of the things that you can do is you can fold your fabric fusible side out if your fusible is at all tacky. And my fusible is still tacky right now, so I'm going to fold this fusible side out, and I'm going to fold it into a triangle so that it's easy to determine where the center of our square is. I'll fold it into a triangle, and then I'm actually going to place that triangle right on the straight lines on my board. So straight line across, straight line up through the center of that triangle. Now I'm going to use my Hearts and More tool, and I'm going to place the Hearts and More tool with the arrow going straight, pointing straight up to the top of that triangle. So you can see how I did that. I've laid out the dash line that ends in an arrow. That's the 0-degree marking on my tool, straight up through the center of that square, and I need to stand to cut. I cannot sit and cut because I won't get an accurate cut. Now with a rotating mat, this is really easy. With this small mat, I can rotate it right on my table. So I'm going to go ahead and get started cutting, and then I'm going to rotate, and I'm going to continue cutting. When you're cutting with my tools, a 28mm rotary cutter is an absolute necessity. So this is the Quick Change Rotary Cutter by Olfa. It changes just like this to change your blade. Super easy. Put your new blade on, and you are ready to go. Now, this Quick Change Rotary Cutter is a free gift when you sign up for my membership. So we'll talk about membership later. Let's get back to our project at hand. So now we have cut a half circle out of that folded piece of fabric. So now we have our 6 3/4 inch frame with a circle cut from the middle. Well, what are we going to do? We're going to look back at the back side of that, and we're going to match that up with our yellow fabric that was cut 6 inches square. The 6-inch piece of fabric covers over the 6-inch piece of Misty Fuse that was on the back of that fabric. And now we have a reverse applique circle. So when we fuse this down, we can buttonhole stitch this edge And I do think that this blue thread is going to be just perfect for that buttonhole stitch edge. I was toying with the idea of using the blue and yellow, which is called Bright Day, but I think that's going to fuzz up the edges of my moon, and instead of keeping them crisp like it would with the blue thread, it would make them fuzzy because of the introduction of the yellow. So I'm going to go ahead with Tootie. I don't have my glasses on. I think it's 24 is the color number. And I'm going to use that 50 weight cotton variegated thread to do my buttonhole stitch around the edges of my moon. Now this is a full moon, but we want to make a crescent moon. So the next step to make your crescent moon is to take this 5-inch circle that we've just cut. We're going to leave it folded or fold it again. And now we're going to grab our 4-inch Hearts and More tool. By placing the 4-inch end of the circle with the 90-degree line on that fold, you can either place it in the very center, and then you're going to end up with a bonus ring, or you're going to slide this tool right over to the side here, and you're going to end up with a bonus crescent moon. So let's go ahead and cut that circle. That's a 4-inch circle. Here's our bonus crescent moon. Now realize that's all fusible. So you're going to be able to use this on a bonus quilt. Now we have a 4-inch circle. That 4-inch circle we're going to place inside our 5-inch circle, just offset anywhere. You can touch this moon anywhere you want it to be to make your crescent moons go in all different directions. You're going to fuse that in place, just kissing here over on the edge. And then we're going to do our buttonhole stitching. Realize that your blue on your background is the applique fabric. So this is a reverse applique moon. All of your buttonhole stitching, your straight stitch will be on the yellow. Your bite, your cross stitch is going to be on the blue in both cases. After we finish this outside circle, we're going to come back the opposite direction, and we're going to sew this inside circle with a straight stitch on your yellow, the cross stitch in your blue. By the time you are done with this, it's only going to take minutes to make each one of your blue moons, and you're going to be able to assemble all of your blue moons into this beautiful blue moon quilt. This is probably the fastest, easiest applique quilt you will ever make. And what a beautiful addition to a nursery. You could make this blue moon quilt in light blues and pinks. You could make this in the traditional colors here with all these beautiful celestial prints. And this would be such a beautiful gift for a new baby in your life. I've got a new baby coming into my world this month, and I think this might be the perfect gift for a baby boy. So I hope you've enjoyed making blue moons here with me today. I'm going to put this all aside, but by the way, remember that crescent moon? You're going to find a second fabric, and also you can cut that at 6 3/4. You can fuse that bonus moon onto that background fabric, stitch once again onto the applique, and you're going to have a second piece for your quilt or for another quilt. Now, I love when you have a bonus piece that you can make from the cuttings of the first quilt. It's so much fun to use bonus pieces, and I love to give you bonus quilt designs when you make a quilt with me. So let me talk to you about, I'm going to change my camera view. So I want to be able to talk to you. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to, because I had to use this camera, I'm just going to move it up here. There we go. Okay, I want to talk to you about the Blue Moons quilt, and I want to talk to you about different ways that you can learn applique with me. If you liked what you saw today, making the Blue Moons quilt, I would love for you to come and take a workshop with me. So we do online workshops where you can come take a workshop with lots of other quilters from all over the country, even all over the world, and we work together on these quilts. So not only can you see me demonstrate just like this, but you can be making your own quilt at the same time. That way we can look at any concerns you have, any questions you have, any problems that arise along the way, and we can solve those problems. If you have a phone, a tablet, or a computer with a camera, you can join right in here with me in my studio. Come on and take a class with me and enjoy learning how to use the Hearts and More tools and the Leaves Galore tools in so many different ways. Now, we are going to talk in a few minutes about marking quilting designs with the Hearts and More tools. But before we do, we have a few other things we want to cover. One of those things is all about our membership. So I want to explain what the membership is to you. Our membership is a way to get lots of classes with me at a discounted price. When you join our membership, you get one workshop a month on our Zoom platform. So I offer 3 workshops every month. You can choose from those 3 workshops which one you'd like to do most and take that workshop with me. Now, if you want additional workshops or you need products for that class, you can go to our website and enjoy an 11% discount on the website. You're also going to become part of our private Facebook group where I do these little tutorials. We do sessions twice a month where you can learn more fun things from me. Once a month, I show you all of the new projects that are coming up in our workshop so that it'll help you choose. You can ask me questions about the workshops that are coming up, and we can just spend some time together and do some more education. So I love that opportunity to come to my members twice a month for questions and answers and for a little show and tell. And it's fabulous when people show and tell about their workshops, what they've made, and show their finished projects. I was so pleased to have a few of our members yesterday comment how much they love these online classes and that they're finishing their quilts and not having more UFOs. You'd be amazed how quickly these quilts come together. So in a 4-hour class for $49 and a 6-hour class for $69, or a 2-day 8-hour class to 10-hour class for $99. You can get any one of those classes, one per month, for $49 for your membership. So the membership includes your discount, your Facebook group, your private Facebook group with me, and any workshop you want at any price point, one workshop per month. So for $49, it's a great deal. So I'm going to welcome you to come and join the membership. When you join the membership this month, you're going to get 2 bonuses. One is the Rotary Cutter by Olfa. This is the quick change rotary cutter. So if you already have a 28mm rotary cutter, you probably don't have this one. This is just the bee's knees. This is the best rotary cutter out there. And I want you to have the right tools for the job. There are some 28mm rotary cutters that do not work well with my tools. Those ergonomic rotary cutters and some of the older rotary cutters. They don't have the clearance to go around my tools, and the Olfa is the perfect tool for the job. So I want you to have the right tools to start rotary cut applique. So you're going to get a bonus, one of these, and you're going to get my bonus ebook, which is 49 tips for fusible applique. So when you join, I will send out both of those items to you in the mail. Everything else is online and easy to access from your computer. All right, so let's talk about what's coming up for workshops. Well, the first workshop that I want you to consider is Monday night. And if you'd like to make mint chocolate with us on Monday night, today is the last day to register because I've got to get you in the system. I've got to get you the supply list. so that you can get all of your fabrics ready. You can print out your supply list and your student supplement that comes in an email to you, and you'll get an email with the Zoom invitation for tomorrow night's class. I'm sorry, for Monday night's class. So if you're interested in doing mint chocolate with us, sign up today. It's a free workshop. So where do you go to get your first free workshop? You're going to go to SuePellinDesigns.com, go under the shop category, and look for online live workshops. Now, we have some online workshops that are not live. We have online workshops that are pre-recorded. So just like watching any other YouTube video, any video on your computer, you can watch the video of me going step by step through these beautiful projects. And one of those projects is My Magical Garden. Now, I happen to have My Magical Garden here, so I'm just going to show you briefly. My Magical Garden is a sampler quilt of all different blocks using all different techniques with your leaves galore and your hearts and more tools. So this is available as a pre-recorded video series and PDF patterns. And I recommend you take 9 months to make that quilt. That'll be 9 months of lessons with me, and you can learn all of the different techniques that I love to teach. Now, when you take the individual workshops, the short-term workshops, the 2, 4, 6, and 8-hour workshops, those are super fast, super fun, and you get your projects done faster and easier. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and look at some more comments, make sure I've got everybody here. It's not better. It's still blurry. That is not because of the cameras. Mine is perfectly clear. It's because of the internet connection. So what I'm going to suggest is you go back and watch it on replay, and that should be better. Okay, nice to see all of you. Excellent. The whiteboard I got at a quilt show. They're unusual. They're hard to find, but this one is called SE Products. SE Products. And you can get it from them on their website more than likely, although I got mine years ago. Okay, the membership is awesome. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that testimonial. I love the membership. It is so wonderful. And Betsy, you're on block 12 of Magical Garden. Congratulations. Magical Garden is a long-term project, but there are so many skills that you're going to learn. It's worth taking that 9-month time frame to master these applique skills. So whether you want to do this as an online program with me while you're watching those videos, or you want to do some live short-term classes, faster projects, both options are there and available to you. All right, when you have the Hearts and More tools, you're going to be able to make 9 different applique shapes with the Hearts and More tools. Nowhere on there do you see a moon. Nowhere on there do you see a clamshell. These are the 9 basic shapes that you can learn from the booklet that comes with the tool. In addition to that booklet, we have our books, and that shows you more shapes, more techniques that you can learn with the tools. And our classes give you more shapes and more techniques. So we did want to talk a little bit today about marking quilting designs with the Hearts and More tool. And then if we have time, we're going to talk about that piping hot binding tool. So let me grab my ironing station again. This time I'm going to grab the one that has a grid surface. This is the same. This is the Tracy and Tim Kennedy TNT quilt boards. They made one for me that has a grid. I'm going to switch cameras again, and I want to be able to see that camera right down on my workstation. If it is blurry for you, I apologize. I think we just need to let these videos load up, and when you watch the video replay, it should be clear. All right, we're going to use our Quilter's chalk line, and I need to quickly grab a pin. Let me grab it right off the wall that's holding up one of my quilts. I'm going to put a pin into my pressing surface, and I'm going to use my Quilter's chalk line with the iron erasable chalk to draw a straight line on my fabric with just one snap of that chalk line. Now I'm going to go across and I'm going to draw a grid at 4-inch intervals, just like this. Now, if you don't have a pressing mat like this that has the grid on it, you're going to be able to get a pattern cutting board. They sell them at Joann Fabrics. You can get them anywhere. And a pattern cutting board is a gridded board that's made out of cardboard, and it has these grid lines on it. So you can do the exact same thing that I'm doing on that cardboard. So sorry about those notifications. I don't have time to figure out right now how to turn those off. And it did not happen like that on the last live show. So we're just going to ignore those little beeps and bleeps. Okay, now I have a grid of 4-inch squares on my background fabric. If this were a quilt, I would be able to do this same thing by laying the quilt on that pattern cutting board, or using your ruler and the chalk wheel to mark that 4-inch grid. I've misplaced my chalk wheel here, but when I find it, I will show you how to mark that grid with your chalk wheel instead. Now we're going to take our Hearts and More tool, and this is where I need that chalk wheel in order to mark my fabric. So let me grab a different one here. Now I've already added the powdered chalk to this chalk wheel. So right inside here, there's a little plastic stopper. You're going to pull out this plastic stopper, and you're going to get rid of the chalk that it comes with the tool. That is not iron erasable chalk. My chalk is iron erasable. That comes with the quilter's chalk line. So these two products come together. The quilter's chalk line and the chalk come together. When I'm filling up my other chalk tool, I just use that powdered chalk that came with the chalk line. So let's get rid of our chalk line. And I've just made a big mess here as I filled up my tool. No worries, because all of this is iron erasable. So let's just clean that up. That way it's not so distracting for you when I teach you that next step. So we're going to clean up that little bit of a mess just by ironing away that chalk dust. And let me remark that one line that I just erased. Here we go. Okay. So now we have 4-inch squares going across our fabric, and I've chosen to use the 4-inch Hearts and More tool. If I chose the 2.5-inch Hearts and More end of this tool, then I would mark a 2.5-inch grid. So whatever size tool you're going to use, you're going to mark that size grid. So I have a 4-inch grid marked, and I'm going to grab my 4-inch tool. I'm going to place the circle right in the center of each square, and I'm going to mark around the top half of that circle. Now I'm going to slide over. I'm going to center my circle in the center of that 4-inch square and mark the top half of the circle, and I'm going to do that all the way across. I'm marking just the top half of the circle all the way across. Now I'm going to put that circle, it's got crosshairs right here and here with an arrow. That arrow is going to come just where these two intersect, and I'm going to draw my next line of clamshells. Using those intersecting lines that go right through the center of your circle, you're going to easily be able to line up your clamshell design. Now, why do I love this clamshell design so much? Because it is super easy to quilt. Now I'm back on the full square. So I'm going to center my circle on the full square and mark halfway around the tool from 90 to 90 on the tool. And when I'm cutting circles, I'm cutting from 90 to 90 on the tool. I'm placing the tool on the fold of my fabric, and that's giving me perfect circles every time. So circles are just one of the 9 shapes that you can easily cut with the tool and the instructions that come with the booklet that comes with the tool. So now I've got this beautiful clamshell pattern. When I go to quilt this pretty clamshell pattern, I forgot one marking here. I'm going to use the walking foot on my sewing machine or the free motion foot if I'm comfortable with that. I'm going to start down here and I'm going to sew these half circles with the walking foot on my machine. And then I'm going to go to the next line and I'm going to mark here, excuse me, I'm going to sew here and all the way across the quilt this way, all the way across the quilt with a third line, and then once again with my fourth line. You can see how just bouncing across the entire quilt will get this clamshell pattern done in one pass. But here's another way to do it. You could start here and do this first row of clamshell tops. Then we could come here and go in, and then we could fill this section with some free motion quilting. This is a great way to learn how to use your free motion foot. You've already got the lines to follow, so you're going to come right across here with your free motion foot, and then you're going to fill in the space with some beautiful straight lines, curvy lines, whatever you decide, and then come across again. This is a great quilting pattern to learn how to use your free motion foot, and you can make a beautiful clamshell design. The marking allows you the control that you need because you don't need to think about what comes next. You're just going to follow along these lines. Now you can fill this with feathers. You can fill this with ovals. You can fill this with circles. There's so many different ways to fill those clamshells, and you could do each row with a different design. So by using the tools for cutting your applique and using the tools for marking your quilting designs, you're getting double the use out of one tool. So I hope you've enjoyed learning how to use the Hearts and More tools for a clamshell quilting design. Realize that there are so many designs that you can create. Clamshells is just one of my favorites, but look at this pretty border design. I could play all day long with these tools and come up with a different design every day. When you use your walking foot on your sewing machine, these quilting designs are simple. They're edge-to-edge designs, so they're fast, they're easy, and they're so easy to learn. What a great way to play with free motion applique. Okay, yes, the chalk tool is refillable. We have the iron erasable chalk powder that comes with the quilter's chalk line. This is refillable with a little rubber door right here. You're going to add more chalk powder. Now we've discontinued this bottled chalk powder, so when you want refills, we're going to carry the pounce powder. The ultimate pounce powder is the same iron off chalk powder. It just doesn't come in a handy little dispenser bottle. So you're going to be able to use this bottle over and over again once you have it with the tool. You can put your pounce powder in here, but this powder lasts forever. You're really not going to need a refill for a long time because you get the two products together already. Once you have these two products, this bottle lasts for a long time. You can use it to refill this tool right here, and you can use it to refill your chalk line itself. Both of these tools make wonderful marking tools for applique placement, for quilting designs, and for so many other uses. As I mentioned, I love to use this tool for squaring up the edges of my quilts prior to binding. So let's talk about that binding for a moment. But while I do, I'm just getting rid of these marks. So the chalk irons away. That makes it the perfect tool to play with quilting designs. Even on your quilt top, you can play with your quilting design. If you don't like what you've designed, you're just going to iron it away and start again. Once you are happy with this design, it stays pretty well. Now it looks like it's brushing away, but I'm right on top of it and I can see this a lot better. Now I am working on black fabric. It doesn't show quite as well on other colors, but it still shows up. In fact, I even use this sometimes on white fabrics because with a good pair of magnifying glasses, I can see the white chalk sitting on the surface of the white fabric. Now, if you are using white fabric, I recommend you get yourself a Hera marker. A Hera marker will also mark around these tools. So when you are struggling with seeing that color on your fabric, then you can use the Hera marker. And the Hera marker just basically creases your fabric so that you can see that quilting design just because of that crease. Now, that doesn't work particularly well on the black fabrics, and you're probably not going to be able to see that on your screen. But here in the studio, I can see those perfectly rounded lines that I can follow with my free motion foot. All right, so enough about marking. We're going to talk about that binding. When I am binding my quilt, I like to lay my quilt out on the carpeted floor. I'll put a T-pin on one edge of the quilt, outside of the edge of the quilt, like right on the edge, and I'm going to snap a line to square up the edge of that quilt. This chalk line's 30 feet long, so you're going to be able to snap a straight line across any quilt and then come back and do the other side. You're going to mark all 4 straight lines on the edges of your quilt before binding. Now, when you're binding, it's really fun to add a little piped edge along your binding. So let me get rid of my ironing station, and I want to show you that piped binding. Let's go ahead and grab this quilt so you can see it. So this quilt was hanging behind me over the last couple of days. This is Melissa's quilt, and it's a great orange peel style quilt. We do Melissa's quilt as an introductory class, and you can take the Mini Melissa's quilt free workshop on September 10th. We also offer this as a half-day workshop where you make a baby quilt. This one happens to be the lap size quilt. Now behind me, you see that I have a whole bunch of patterns, and Melissa's quilt is one of the patterns over on my wall. So if you love this quilt, that pattern is available, and it makes this quilt in 7 different sizes. Okay, but we want to talk about that piped edge. I love doing that little shot of color right along the edge of my binding. This is the piping hot binding technique by Susan Cleveland. Now, Susan teaches a whole series of classes at these shows. So I've met Susan before, and I love all of her techniques and all of her books. Today, we're going to talk about her piping hot binding technique, and I've got some examples here to show you. Then I also want to introduce you to some of her other products. She has a book called Marvelous Miters and one called Precision and Panache. She also has another book that is Piping Hot Curves. And I use that piping hot curves technique quite frequently in my quilts. But today we're going to talk about piping hot binding. When you make a piping hot binding with Sue Cleveland's technique, you can get that very, very thin piping right along the edge of your binding. So Susan sells this tiny little cording. It is so, so thin. She sells it by the roll, and I have it by the roll on my website. So it's a super thin little cording that doesn't stretch, but she does show you how to shrink it so that it won't shrink when you wash your quilts. So she gives you all of that technique in the Piping Hot Binding book. So with the Piping Hot Binding, she teaches you how to cut a bias binding. And I've already gone ahead and cut my binding strips, or my piping strips, that bias strip at 1 1/4 inches because I like to use a 2.5-inch narrow binding on my quilts. So once I have these strips cut at 1.25 inches, then I'm going to fold it in half. I'd actually sew all of them together first. And then I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to try to center that tiny little cording right down the middle of my piping. Now, I like to put a knot in the end. That way it doesn't get lost as you are folding over your binding. Your piping. Yes, folding over your piping and sewing this close to the cording. So we're going to just sew close to that cording. And after we get this sewn, we're going to lay over the piping hot tool over that sewn piping. And the little cording fits right in this tiny little groove in the bottom of the tool. There's a little groove here, and it sits right over that thin little cording. Let me show you on one that I've already cut. So this one's been sewn right next to the cording. Susan teaches you all about how to do that accurately so you never see that stitching on your quilt. And then you just hold this tool over that cording and you cut with your 28mm rotary cutter. Now you can slide this down. It holds right onto that cording. Trim, pull down, and trim until you get all of your cording for your quilt done. Now that you have this beautiful little piped binding, piped cording, you're going to be able to have the exact measurement here for when you put on your binding, when you sew that 1/4 inch on your binding, that piping is just going to peek out the edge. It's all in the accuracy of cutting this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance beyond your stitching line. And that's what the grooving piping trimming tool is all about. So this little kit comes together with the piping hot binding book, the grooving piping trimming tool, and 5 yards of that very fine cording. So when you have 5 yards of this cording, you can probably do a quilt or two, and then you can buy additional rolls of this cording on my website as well. So I'm going to give you one more example of where this was used on my quilts. So I'm going to grab that Blue Moon quilt from today's little mini workshop and show you the piped edges on this quilt. Let me remove the book so you can really see it. So when I did this beautiful quilt, I had these pretty celestial prints with all of the gold. I have my golden moons themselves. So I wanted to highlight the edge with that tiny little piping right along the edge. And it's only because of Sue's method and her tools that I was able to get this so accurately done. Now, yesterday, I demonstrated that when I sew my buttonhole stitching, I often use these little tools to pick up any little threads that are along the edges. Now, if you're like me, you're going to find threads from a quilt that you did ages ago sticking out from around that binding. So I'm going to grab that with my opposable tweezers, and I'm going to trim it up with my little curved edge snips. The curved edge snips prevent me from catching the edge of my quilt, and those tweezers let me grab onto any tiny little bits of threads here so that I can get rid of them cleanly from the edge of the quilt. So I noticed another one here. I hate it when I go to a quilt show and someone hasn't taken the time to clean up their quilt. And yet here I'm seeing on my quilt some little threads along the edges of this binding. So I grab it with my reverse tweezers. I'm going to come up and snip under it with my curved edge scissors. That way I get really, really close. I get rid of the thread and there's nothing showing on the quilt. So these little curved snips, I have them in the foam grips like I used right here. I have them in a gold version, and I have them in a rainbow titanium version. So you're going to find all of those on my website. Somebody asked about them yesterday because I showed how I use these when I'm appliquing yesterday. And they said, but they're not on your website. And sure enough, I went to the website. They weren't there. So I've just added all 3 versions to the website. Then somebody said they went to order the reverse action tweezers and didn't realize they were 2 colors. So you can get the silver ones or you can get these pretty pink ones. And she said, change my order to the pretty pink ones so my husband won't steal them out of my sewing room. So I thought that was a great idea to have the reverse action tweezers in pink. But we do have both options available on the website. Do I sell Susan Cleveland's books? No, I only have the piping hot binding tool. I do have Marvelous Miters and Precision and Panache. So if you'd like either one of those, I can. These I did normally sell these, but I don't do shows anymore. So I only have one of each left. If you're interested in either one of these books, just put it here in the comments. First one to tell me, will get a invoice out to you because it's not on my website. You can't purchase it there, but I'll include it in your order and I'll just send you a PayPal invoice. They're $24.95. I have Marvelous Miters and I have 1 copy of Precision and Panache. Okay. All right. So what else are we going to talk about today? I want to go through and answer any questions that you have about membership, about our online courses, and about ordering today. So today, when you order from my website, you are going to get a sample of the Tootie variegated thread. I'm going to pick the color for you. If you have a specific color you'd like, I don't have all the colors in the sample sizes, so I'm just going to have to choose for you. So I'm just going to say, let's just be surprised and see what color you get when you order today. You're going to get a sample size spool. The sample size spools are good size. You're going to be able to do a project with that sample size spool. Then when you fall in love with the Tootie thread, realize that I have all of the colors on my website. I even have some other brands on my website, but the Tootie is what I really specialize in because it is my favorite variegated thread that works so beautifully with the applique. Okay, let me see. You'd like the Miters book, Marlene? Precision and Panache, Kate? Both books, Annabelle. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? Annabelle was the first one to ask, so I would go ahead and send these 2 to Annabelle, and the other ladies that want these, I can special order those, and they'll be in within a couple of days, okay? So if you do want those books, just let me know. I'll put an order together. I order directly from Susan Cleveland. That way I support artists and quilters that are trying to make a living designing these beautiful techniques for you. So I will order directly from Susan and I will support her and get your orders filled. It's just going to take a few extra days for her to send me those books. Okay, on my back wall here, you see everything that I use for rotary cut applique. We have all of the items that are in our show specials up here in the corner. In our show special, you're going to get all 3 Leaves Galore tools, all 4 Hearts and More tools, and 2 sets of Grace True Grips. If you buy the medium package, the middle package, you're also going to get my 2 books and my Quilter's chalk line. If you want the deluxe package today, you're going to get all of those items. You're also going to get the chalk wheel that you can fill with the iron erasable chalk that's in here. You're going to get the Olfa 28 millimeter refill pack, and you'll get the Olfa rotary cutter. If you prefer the Clover cutter that has a bigger grip It's better for people maybe with arthritis or trouble with their hands. Specify the clover cutter and I'll substitute that for the Olfa cutter. Most people will get the Olfa cutter with the quick change blade unless you specify you want the clover cutter. In the deluxe package, you're also going to get the Misty Fuse 10-yard package and the Fat Goddess sheet by Misty Fuse. That's the pressing sheet that I use when I'm pressing my applique fabrics. It's bigger than a fat quarter. It's 21 inches by 27 inches, and it is the best pressing sheet out on the market today. So all of the other products that I've shown you are add-on products. And let me show you some of my favorites. I've got them all right across the bottom here. Some of my favorite products are the Grab-A-Roo gloves. Let me grab my Grab-A-Roo gloves and show you what I mean. I use these gloves when I'm machine quilting. I use these gloves when I'm doing machine applique. When I have the gloves on that have these beautiful little nibs or rubberized grips on the fingers, it doesn't matter which way I put the gloves on. They're not right or left-handed. You can put them either way. And I've always got the grips no matter which way I put them on because they are on both sides of the gloves. So I use these for applique, not only for quilting. So these are going to come in really handy, and the Grab-A-Roo gloves are beautiful. They're different sizes. I take a medium size, which is size 8, and they are perfect for moving your applique around and for moving your quilt when you're doing machine quilting. So the Grab-A-Roo gloves, the Easy Cut scissors that I've already shown you, the 3 different ones, my reverse action tweezers. That means when you squeeze them, they open. When you let go, they close, and that helps you to grab those little threads anywhere along the applique edges, or if you have other threads that you need to trim off your quilts. Then we have the Fons and Porter needles. The Fons and Porter self-threading needles allow you to pull your applique threads through and weave them into the back of your applique so they'll never show through on light colored fabrics. So I love these Fons and Porter needles, and I do sell those as well on the website. The Schmetz needles are my machine applique needles. I use the Schmetz Microtex Sharp needles, and you can get these on the website as well. When you are doing your applique, you might have a little puckering along your edges. If your edges pucker when you applique, you're going to want the Easy Tear Stabilizer. This is the Sulky Easy Tear Stabilizer. It comes right out of those stitched edges, and it's really easy to use. For those of you that know all my little tips and tricks, you'll know that I don't use a whole lot of this, and I'll show you that during our workshops. Okay, another product that I love is this Bowen iron cleaner. This is the best chemical iron cleaner out there. Now, for a quick touch-up, I do have the iron cleaner sheets from Bonash. I don't know where they went to, but I do have the iron cleaner sheets. You can use that and clean your iron right away if you get anything on the back of your iron. But if you have burnt on, caked on, fusible mess, or starch on your iron, you're going to want the Bowen iron cleaner, and you're going to want to use that outside or under the range hood in your kitchen. So all of that smoke that gets generated from this product gets vented outside, and it doesn't fill up your house with smoke. So I don't like to use this product often, only when my iron gets really bad. But when it gets really bad, this is the product that will take care of that fusible. Another thing that I sell in my shop because I use it all the time, and I will be using this in my classes. If you take the Clever Clamshells class with me, you're going to need some glow line tape, and I use my glow line tape to mark all of my tools when I'm cutting. So the glow line tape is a really handy product to have. So that is it in a nutshell. Those are all the products that I love to use. But you're going to find loads of other products on my website. When you go into the notions category, you're going to find Sue's favorite notions. And some of those things are things that I have found along the way when I'm at the shows, when I see other demonstrators demonstrating their products. I love to support these ingenious people who come up with all these wonderful ideas. So Pauline from Pauline's Quilters World created this dressmaker sasher set. She has individual sashers to do different jobs. These are for making bias tape or folded strips out of strips of fabric. This one is specifically made for using your 2.5-inch strips, those jelly roll strips. And this one is made, it's really fat. This one is made for your jelly roll rugs. So Pauline's tools are on my website. Deb Wentz tools, including the Hexamajig and the Hexamajig Junior, as well as the Brilliant Bindings tool. You're going to find those all on my website. Here's her Brilliant Bindings tool. So I love to support these quilters that are developing new processes, new products, and really ingenious ways of doing things. So when you look on my website and you see somebody else's tools, it's because it's something that I love to use, something that's tried and true, and something that I really enjoy using. So go ahead and check out Sue's Favorite Tools on my website, or Sue's Favorite Notions, I should say. So I believe that is everything. I'm going to show you one more thing just in case you're still here with me. When I designed the Leaves Galore tool, I went out and found every other wavy tool out there on the market. This one is the Wave Edge template by Lily Marie Amaru. Lily has a patent on curved edge tools, and I licensed her patent in order to make my curved edge tools. So Lily and I have complementary tools. Hers are for piecing and mine are for applique. If you want a tool that you can piece with, the Wave Edge tool can do that. The Leaves Galore tools is not made for piecing. I wouldn't try it. It doesn't work. So if you are interested in piecing with a curved edge tool, send me a comment and I can get you the Wave Edge tool by Lily Marie. They're $22 for this tool. And I'm going to throw in for the first two that want it, her book. I do have a couple of her books left. Again, because I'm not doing shows, I'm clearing out all of these items. So I'm going to throw these two together for $22. They're not on my website. Just leave me a comment if that's something that you'd like to have. And thank you, Lily Marie, for supporting me and helping me by letting me license your patent for that Wave Edge tool. Okay, I think that is everything for today that I wanted to share with you. I am going to be answering all of your questions. Yes, you can absolutely watch this again. Once I publish this, it will be on Facebook. The Blue Moon quilt pattern is in my book, Lynn. You can get the book, Hearts and More Rotary Cut Applique. You can absolutely watch this show again, Joni. So if you missed the first 5 minutes of the show, just go watch the replay. Marilyn, if you have the membership, will you be able to see the videos forever? Well, forever is a long time. As long as I have access to my Vimeo account, you will have access to the videos. If I ever cancel that Vimeo account, then the videos will also get canceled. I do not anticipate that happening in the near future. As long as I have members, I need the Vimeo account, so you will have access to the videos. So when you take a workshop with me, not only are you going to get to take the workshop, but you're going to get to watch those videos after the fact. Just like here today on Facebook Live, you can go back and watch this Facebook Live video. But for people who pay for the workshop, you get a dedicated link to my Vimeo, and I will share with you the link to watch the videos. Okay? Um, the Susan Cleveland book that I use for this tool comes with the tool. It's called Piping Hot Binding. Now, there is another book called Piping Hot Curves that goes into great detail how to use her tools to make beautiful curved applique quilts. And I use that technique frequently with my tools. And we will be using that technique in one of our future classes, and that is the South Shore quilt class. But I don't have that quilt to show you right now. When will the Hope's Diamond class be offered again? That's a great question. We have Hope's Diamond being offered this month. That's the quilt behind me right here. This quilt right here is Hope's Diamond. It's going to be offered this month, and then it will be offered again in 3 to 4 months. Okay? Valerie, did you want that thread rack? I've got 2 of them. If you'd like the thread rack, just let me know. We're going to do 3 thread spools with an order today. That is 3 free sample spools of thread. They're big spools. You're going to love having them. Okay, super. So I'm going to go through and answer all of your questions. It's so nice to see all of you here today. Order at SuePellinDesigns.com to get your free gift with purchase. Of course, depending on the size of the order, I may throw in an extra spool of thread or so, but I want you to try this thread from Wonderfil. It's my favorite thread out there, and it has beautiful variegated colors. So let me know what you think of this video. Let me know where you are coming from. I would love to see your comments, and I'll be checking comments later today. Just one more note that all of the orders from the last 3 days will ship out on Monday. I've been busily filling orders, getting them ready to go, but I did want to combine orders. So if you ordered yesterday and you want to add something to that order, go right ahead. I'll combine those orders and I will refund your shipping if you paid more shipping, because I'm combining 2 or 3 orders. Okay? All right. It's so nice to see all of you today. Thank you so much for joining me. You can find me weekly on Facebook in our Facebook group. So if you want to join our Facebook group, it's Rotary Cut Applique with Sue Pelland. If you want to be in our private Facebook group for Ahead of the Curve members only, you can join Ahead of the Curve. Just go to our shop tab and click on Ahead of the Curve membership. I'm sorry, that is Learn About Applique. Go to the Learn About Applique menu tab on my website. You're going to learn all about becoming a member, and you can sign up to be a member of Ahead of the Curve. When you do, you're going to get the bonus Quick Change Rotary Cutter as a bonus, and you're also going to get the 49 tips for Rotary Cut Applique book. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you'll join my email list. I hope that you'll come take a free workshop with me on Monday, the 17th, or on September 10th. And I'd love to see you in one of our live Zoom workshops. Go to SuePellinDesigns.com to find out all about all of these opportunities to learn about Rotary Cut Applique. Bye for now, and thanks for coming.